There's a beautiful new town popping up and you're one of the chief planners of the city. You've got great big ideas that will attract tons of new people and you just can't wait to say hello and welcome to Grinivil, which was designed by Rudy Przynski and published by Rudy3, who helped sponsor this video. Hi everybody, my name is Nick Murphy of the Brothers Murph and we are here with Board Game Geek. Well, we've got a city to build, so let's get this game down to the table to learn how to play Grinivil. In Grinivil, players are jointly building out the new town of Grinivil, though you're trying to be the best at doing it. You will be expanding the city, constructing buildings, paving roads, planting trees, and most importantly, attracting new residents. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and get over the setup. Take the starting tile with the entrance on it and the circular center tile and place them on the table. Take two random inner ring tiles and configure them like this. Place a road tile over the construction road overlapping the inner ring tiles. Place an orange building block on the center tile in the building site with the orange municipality stripes and a random building token from among all the blue and yellow building tokens with the construction side face up on top of it. If there are any other gray building sites next to the road with the municipality stripes, do the same there. If there are any green residential building sites with these stripes next to the road, place an orange building block, but this time with a brown building token with the construction side face up. Note that if you are playing a 6-player game, you will ignore doing this throughout the entire game, as someone will be playing the orange color. Note that you only do this if these sites are next to full roads like this. These half roads on the edges do not count. If playing a 2 to 3-player game, take out all of the residents and building tokens with the 4 dots shown on them. Then shuffle the residents deck and draw 5 and place them into the display. Do the same for the 4 to 6-player games, but leave these cards in. While placing the rest of the components, make sure to leave room for the city of Grinivil, which will be a big old circle. Place a scoreboard nearby. Place the market board out with the correct side for your player count. Take all of the resources and put them in the resource reserve bag and give it a shake. Randomly draw 6 resources per player and place them in their matching space in the market. Concrete, wood, and iron in the lowest, most expensive spaces. With 5 and 6-player games, only 5 resources per player are drawn. Now we will need to set up the time action ring. You will always place these 4 tiles in the corners in the configuration shown. Then you will randomly choose 7 pink bordered tiles and add them in with the rest of the action tiles. Return the remaining pink tiles to the box. Shuffle the tiles up and fill in the rest of the time action ring. For your first game, it is suggested that you configure the time action ring in this way specifically. Feel free to pause the video here so you can get it set up. Place the starting tile in the upper left corner here. Each player takes 2 random resident cards, 2 trees, 1 big warehouse with 2 concrete, 1 iron, and 1 wood in this configuration. Take the building blocks of your color according to the player count. 14 for 2 players, 12 for 3 players, 10 for 4, and 9 for 5 and 6 players. Take 3 of your workers into your supply and place the extra one off to the side. Take your ownership tokens and 40 coins called Grinnies into your money bag. Note that the second player gets 3 extra coins, the third player gets 6 extra coins, next gets 9, and so on. Money, by the way, is kept secret. Take a player aid and then place one of your player tokens on the number 5 spot on the victory point track. Place one at the start of the time action ring and on the road bonus track. Lastly, place all of the land tiles, roads, buildings, warehouses, trees, coins, orange building blocks, and roof tiles. Now we're ready to begin. As stated, in this game, we're trying to build out the wonderful town of Grinivil, and we want residents to come move in. The game revolves around the time action ring, and this will determine what action you take. When it is your turn, you will move your marker to the action that you would like to take. You may move it as far as you want, including the space where you currently are, which would be you going all the way around the ring like this. Though you may not want to race too far ahead for reasons that we'll talk about later. There are 2 exceptions of where you can't go. You cannot go to an ability tile where there already is a worker, including your own. And if there is an occupied token on a restricted tile, you cannot go there either. Do note that to go to a space, you have to actually be able to do the action there. If you can't, you will lose 2 points. Other than that, you can go to whatever action you like. After you do the action, you will look at this number here on the tile. This indicates the time units it took you to do that action, and your action marker will move forward that many spaces on the time action ring. If the box is red, you have no choice but to move your marker. If it is gray, you can pay 3 coins to move 1 less space forward than what is listed, and you can even do this enough times to make it where you don't move at all. These actions will facilitate the building of Grinivil through the building of land parcels, the construction of buildings, moving in residents, and more. One tile usually facilitates one action. In the case of this tile, you have two actions to choose from. If you take the Explore Land action, you will pay 10 coins to expand the city. You will choose to explore either the inner ring or the outer ring. You can always attach a new parcel next to another inner ring tile, but the outer tile may only be placed if it would be connected to inner rings by a full completed road like this. Though note that if there is a connection, the outer tile does not have to be adjacent to another outer tile. Note that this road must be a paved road, not a construction road like this. After you choose where to build, you will flip over the top tile from that stack and place it in its space. You will gain 3 victory points, and then you will place an ownership marker on the tile to show that you are the one who owns that land parcel. If there are now any municipality spaces connected to a road, you will place an orange block, and then you, as the owner, get to select a blue or yellow building token for any gray non-residential building sites, or a brown token for residential building spaces. Note that if the new land tile is not owned by any player, which may be the case of land tiles placed through some other additional site actions, or when the player has no other ownership tokens, the building token for the non-residential gray building site is selected randomly from all the available blue and yellow building tokens, like during the setup. But back to our situation here. As a municipality builds on the tile with your ownership token, you will gain from the bank 5 coins plus 3 coins per resident already in the town to a max of 20. If it is on a tile someone else owns, they will get the money. Then you will move forward 1 time unit, and remember, if the box is gray like this one, you may pay 3 coins to move 1 less space. Lots of things in the game will require your resources. Let's talk about gaining and selling them. These 2 spaces are how you gain resources from the market. They both work the same, except that in this space you will get a 3 coin discount on your overall cost. When you take these actions, you may buy as many resources as you like for their costs shown. The buying price is in red, so this concrete is 4, this wood is 6, and this iron is 3. The fewer resources in the market, the more expensive they are going to be. When you gain your resources, they have to go into your warehouses. Each warehouse can only hold 1 type of resource, though note that you can rearrange your resources at any time. When you finish this action, you will move your marker 1 space forward per every 3 resources purchased, rounded up. You can also go to the auction space to get resources. The player who goes to this space will randomly take 5 resources out of the bag, and then all players will bid on these resources. The minimum bid is 10 coins, and the player who is taking the action, the initiator, must bid. The players will all reveal their bids, and the player who bid the highest gains the resources and 1 victory point. If the initiator did not win the bid, they will gain half of the coins from the highest bid rounded down as compensation. The auction action has no time cost. We talked about warehouses, and we can go to the buy warehouse spot to gain another small warehouse for 10 coins. This will go down into your portfolio and may now be used. This action costs 1 time unit. Now, if you have some excess resources you don't need, you can go to the sell resources space. You may sell as many resources as you like, and they will go back to the market, and you will gain the sell price in yellow for each resource you sell back. This action costs 0 time units. Now that we have some resources, let's go ahead and use them. The build road action, which is the other available action on the same tile as the explore land action, is naturally where you build roads. You will pay 2 concrete back to the reserve, and then you will place a road on a construction road somewhere on the board. Note that it must be a full road, not a half road like this. Finished roads are important for when we're moving new residents into Grinivil. And note that dead end roads like this one are considered completed already, and you cannot place a road here. You will then move your marker up the road bonus track and get the bonus showing if applicable. You can gain victory points, money, a small warehouse, 6 trees to your supply. You may add a new land tile for free, and although no victory points are awarded, you still own this new land tile. Note that you still place out orange blocks if necessary. And lastly, you may get to take a whole nother action, essentially getting another turn. Building roads costs 2 time units. The municipality has been constructing buildings, so let's get in on that action. These 2 spaces allow you to build on building sites. They function the same, except for this one will cost you an extra 3 coins. There are 3 types of buildings you can build: brown residential buildings, which go on the green residential building sites, blue commerce buildings, and yellow public buildings, both of which can be built on the gray non-residential building sites. Residential and commerce buildings will be 2 stories high, and public buildings will be 3 stories. You can either start a new building or add on to one that has already been started. Which floor of the building will determine what the cost is and how many points you get for building it. This information is shown in your player aid here. For example, the 2nd floor of a public building costs costs 2 concrete and 1 iron and brings you 2 victory points. If you start a new building, you will choose a building site and a building type, pay the resources, and then place one of your building blocks on the site and the chosen building token construction side up on top. Note that new buildings must be connected to the road, and these roads can either be finished roads or construction roads. There are multiple types of blue and yellow buildings, and you may want to choose something specific depending on potential residents, but we'll talk about that a little bit. If you are adding on to a building, you will pay the cost for the floor you're building, and then you will take out the building token, place your building block, and then place the building token back on top. If it is the second floor in a commerce or residential building, place the token finished side up. If it's the second floor in a public building, place it construction side up, as these needs 3 floors to be finished. Though note that if you finish a public building, all players who participated in the construction will gain their extra worker. Or you can get your 4th worker by achieving the 20 victory point milestone as well. Gain your victory points for the floor you just built and place one of your workers next to the building to show that you are working on it. If you already have one of your workers next to that site because you worked on it previously, do not place another one. If this is your first time placing one of your building blocks on that construction site, you will have to pay the owner of the land parcel 5 coins plus 3 more for every resident who's moved into town. Moved-in residences will have a red roof, so just count the red roofs on the board and pay 3 extra coins per roof. If the parcel is owned by you or the municipality, you do not have to pay. Some building spaces also have a building bonus that the player who first places their building block on will get. This can be points, money, 2 random resources, gain 2 trees, plant up to 3 trees, which we'll talk about in a moment, build a road but do not move your road bonus marker, build a land parcel but do not place an ownership marker, or take a whole nother action. After you finish your main building action, you may take 1 associated building action. There are 3 of these, and which ones are available depends on what type of building you're working on, and this is shown in your player aid. You can pay 25 coins to build an extra floor on the same building, pay 10 coins to build a road connected to the build site, or if you built a house, you can immediately sell the finished house to a resident. We will talk more about selling houses in a bit. Doing a build action costs 1 time per resource spent, though note that resources spent doing the associated actions don't add on to this. A good city has got to have some trees, and this space allows you to buy 1 to 6 trees. If you buy 1 to 3, they are each 1 coin. If you buy 4 to 6 trees, they are all 2 coins. This costs 1 time unit. If we go to this space, we can plant trees in the city. You can plant 1 to 9 trees in the city. The first 3 trees you plant will give you 5 coins each, the next 4 you plant will give you 2 points each, and the 8th and the 9th tree will give you 3 points each. When you plant trees, they must all go to these planting spaces and all into 1 planting sector. A planting sector is 1 area that is not broken up by roads, so this here is 1 planting area, and this here is another. Now all of these buildings, roads, and trees are here for one purpose: attracting new residents to our growing city. If you go to this space, you can take a resident card from the display to your hand for free, or you can swap a resident from your hand with one from the display at a cost of 10 coins. Note that any residents in your hand at the end of the game you will be severely penalized for. This space here is how we sell our newly built homes to residents. To sell to a resident, you will choose a resident in your hand that you want to move in. They must move into a finished house that you have one of your building blocks on, and it must be connected to a finished road, not a construction road. On top of that, each resident has a list of requirements that you will need to have met as well. Each card is broken down into 4 parts. The top is what you will get for selling the house, the red banner is their mandatory requirements for moving in, the blue banner is optional requirements for when they move in, and the yellow banner is public buildings that they want that will score at the end of the game. Note that if you are not the only person who worked on the house, you will have to pay the other player who worked on it or the municipality 15 coins as compensation for their work on the house, and you must pay this before you get the money for selling the house. Let's take a look at these bonuses and requirements. The resident will give the player who is selling the house a certain amount of points and then money. There will be a base amount of money plus 3 coins for every tree in the planting sector this house is in, up to a max of 50 coins. In other cases, points are rewarded for each tree as well, and this is capped at 10 points. For their requirements, they may want trees, in this case at least 5 trees in the planting sector where their house is located. They may also require specific types of blue commerce buildings like this bus stop here. And note that these buildings must be finished, not under construction. Some may have a specific range listed on them, like this bus stop that has a 2. This means that the bus stop must be 2 roads or less away to meet this requirement. Roads only count if they are finished roads, and the road that the residence is on doesn't count towards this limit. So if we have the residence here, we're on this road, so it doesn't count, and then we are 1 and 2 roads away from the bus stop, so this requirement is fulfilled. If it doesn't have a road requirement, it just needs to be connected via finished roads. It doesn't matter how far away it is. The public buildings at the bottom will give the player points if they are built at the end of the game. They do not need to be built when the house is sold. But all other requirements, mandatory and optional, are evaluated when the house is sold. The rewards are listed on the left side of the requirement. These will be points or money. If it has a reward and then an X, all players who built that building gain the full reward, in this case 3 points. Note that the players who get this reward are players who built the building for the requirement, not the players selling the house. So let's look at this optional coffee shop. If black is selling the house and brown and gray are the ones who built the coffee shop, brown and gray are the ones who get the 4 points each. If the reward has a slash, the reward is divided evenly amongst the players who built the building, rounding down. Once you have finished all this, you will remove the building token and replace it with a red roof. That resident has officially moved in. You will place them face up on the table with the other moved in residents. Make sure to keep the bottoms of the cards showing as a reminder of which public buildings will score and how many points their builders get at the end of the game. Like in real life, money is tight in the game, especially when you are starting your business and the rewards are far away. This is a situation where the convert action may come in handy. You can trade in points for money and vice versa. 1 victory point gives you the money shown on the conversion die. In a single action, you may convert up to 5 victory points. You can choose to take the conversion already showing on the die when your turn starts, or you may roll it and gain the conversion that was rolled. If you choose to take what was already there, you will still roll this die when your action is done. The convert action does not have an extra time cost after the action is performed. Okay, so those are all the main actions that are always present in the game, although sometimes they're in different positions. All other actions are on pink bordered variable tiles, and I'll explain these after we finish the general rules. Whenever you pass the last tile on the time action ring, you will have to perform a few steps in the following order. You will have to pay 5 coins in taxes and then pay 3 coins in wages for every worker on a construction site or on an ability tile. You will then place 4 random resources into the market and then return all of your workers that are on finished buildings, though keep the workers on ability tiles. So earlier I mentioned that if you leave your action marker in the same spot, you will have to do a full loop to get back to that spot. The reason you may not want to do that is you will lose all of your abilities and you will have to pay out taxes and wages. So those are the actions and the gameplay. Let's get into the end of the game and scoring. The beginning of the end of the game will begin once one player has 2 or less building blocks. Then we will move into the sudden death rounds. Each player, starting with the player who triggered sudden death, has to immediately decide whether or not they want their action marker to stay where it is or move forward to the starting tile. If you choose to go to the start, any abilities you pass will cause those workers to come back to you. Though you do not need to pay taxes or wages and no resources are added to the market, though you do get workers back from finished construction sites. Once all players have decided, play will continue with the next player. Once a player gets back to the starting tile, their game is over. The player now has the last option to sell 1 fully constructed house to a resident from their portfolio, assuming all conditions are met. You will pay taxes and wages, but no new resources are put in the market. Now whenever it gets back to your turn, you are skipped and you gain 5 coins. Once all players have gotten back to the start, the game will end. Players will begin their score with what points they gained in game. Then every 10 coins they have is 1 point. Now we will score the public buildings the residents wanted. If there is a public building that was finished and 1 or more residents wanted it, it will score the points shown on those residents' cards. For every floor you constructed in the public building, you will gain 1/3 of all points assigned to this building on the cards of the residents who have moved in. So for this hospital, players will gain 5 points for every one of their building blocks in a finished hospital. Lastly, players will lose 10 points for every resident still in their hands. And then the player with the most points will win. In the case of a tie, the player with the most unplanted trees wins. If there's still a tie, the player with the most money will win, and that is how you play Welcome to Grinivil. But now it's time to explain the rest of the pink action tiles. The optimization action reflects your warehouse setup. You pick 1 resource of your choice for your big warehouse and get 1 random resource for every small warehouse you acquired during the game so far. Shift your time token by 2 spaces afterwards. Subsidy for the unemployed grants you 3 coins plus 3 coins per unemployed worker in your portfolio. Remember, employed workers are those on ability tiles and building sites. If you go to the import action, roll the pink D6 die. This D6 shows the price, and you can buy up to 3 items from the 5 available shown for the price on the die. You are limited to 5 items available: 1 concrete, 1 wood, 1 iron, and 2 trees. This costs 2 time units. If you go to the forced trade action, you can force 1 or more players to trade up to 3 resources with you, though you have to pay them 2 coins for each resource. After you play this action, it is temporarily restricted for others. Forced trade costs 0 time units. With the replanting action, you can relocate up to 3 trees from an existing planting spot or from the general supply to available planting spots anywhere in Grinivil. Note that you can't use trees from your own supply with this action. You get 1 victory point regardless of the number of trees replanted. This is another action restricted for other players until it is your turn again. You will shift your time token 1 space per replanted tree. With the crowdfunding action, you can let an entire non-residential structure of your choice be built in 1 turn. First, select an eligible empty building site and a commercial or public building of your choice. Now all players secretly offer the sum they are willing to pay for participation in the construction of that selected building. The initiator of the action must offer at least 3 grinnies. Other players do not need to offer anything, but they must hide their intention regardless. If it is a non-6 player game, the municipality participates and their contribution is equal to the 30 grinnies plus the current value on the D4 die plus the to be rolled value of the D6 die. The D6 die is rolled only after everyone shows their contribution. After the bidding, the first building block of the new building is always provided by the human player with the largest contribution. The remaining blocks are provided by the others, including the municipality, in order of contribution size. Players are limited to 1 building block, but once the order comes to the municipality finishes the entire building. Players do not spend any resources, do not place their worker on the construction sites, and they get no victory points. Unsuccessful players get their money back. The participation fee is paid to the landowner per usual by those who provided the blocks. The crowdfunding action costs a mandatory 3 time units. All the remaining pink action tiles I want to show in this video are called ability tiles. When you go to these spaces, you will place one of your workers on it, and then you will have an ongoing ability until you complete 1 full round on the time action ring and pass this tile with your player token. Then you will take back your worker and the tile is free to use by another worker. The ecologist gives you 1 free tree every time you take an action with your player token. The banker gives you 3 coins, and the merchant gives you 1 random resource from the resource reserve pouch. The architect allows you to use any resources when building. The builder allows you to use 1 less resource when taking a build action. And the engineer makes every resource you buy 3 coins less. The last 2 ability tiles are the manager and the follower. By placing your worker on a manager space, all of your subsequent actions on the time action ring cost you 0 extra time. So no player tokens shift after the action, even if the time cost associated is mandatory in red. The follower ability gives you a broader action selection every turn while you have a worker on this tile. At the beginning of your turn, you can either select an action on the time action ring and perform it per usual, or don't move your player token and mimic the action of the previous player, with the exception of abilities or restricted actions. The time cost of the mimicked action is a mandatory 2 time units. Alright, now you should be familiar with all the different actions and ready to make Grinivil the place everyone wants to live. Grinivil is all about manipulating and working that time action ring while building the town of Grinivil together with the other players. It's where all the things you need to do are, and managing your time as you move around it is critical because you gotta get that city built. You are practically forced to interact with other players, trying to use their actions for your own purposes more than to allow other players to take advantage of yours. And if Grinivil seems like a game you'd enjoy, make sure to check it out and learn more. And until next time, I have been Nick Murphy, and that is how to play Grinivil. Have a great day.